During my 3 weeks in Europe, I realized just how much our world is connected with technology. In a digital age where I can connect with just about anyone, I find myself feeling more and more lonely. I find myself fighting my thoughts and anxiety provoked by the comparison I make with myself and the success of others, the beauty of others, the lifestyle and persona of others. Not only did I feel the need to disconnect from technology, but to get back into my body. And so this is how my digital detox went, and this is what I discovered and what I hope to keep from this renewing experience. Hey guys, it's your girl Abby, and I am back from my European travels. As you guys could probably tell, I have been distant and gone because I have been in Europe and truly enjoying myself. I was in Spain for 2 weeks with my entire family from Toronto and my European family from Belgium. We all met up in Spain and had this amazing and beautiful family trip where we honestly I can speak for myself, I honestly just relaxed. And this is something that is so uncommon for me. You know, my last vacation was in Costa Rica, and if I'm being honest, I brought my camera with me, I bought my tripod, I brought my journal, and the entire trip was about making content for me. It was about how can I find a location to write? How can I find a location to film? And I realized that majority of that vacation was almost spoiled in a sense because my mind was not present. I wasn't actually in Costa Rica. My mind was constantly running and thinking of content ideas and things to post, things to write about, things to journal about that I can turn into some form of content. And so I didn't get to enjoy. And before going on this trip to Europe, I was fearful of that. You know, I was like, I don't want this to be Costa Rica number 2. I want to genuinely enjoy. And I did that by going on a digital detox. Now, my digital detox was not intentional, but turned out to be amazing. I didn't intentionally go to Europe and say, okay, I'm not using my phone. Okay, I'm not going on my laptop. I'm going on a cleanse. I didn't have that intention, but what turned out happening was I was out of the house for more than 12 hours a day. Like, I was in the Airbnb to go to sleep. I woke up in the morning, got ready, left the house, and didn't come back home until probably around 11:30 midnight, and then the same thing again. And what I realized is that this natural or unintentional digital detox is really what fueled me and allowed me to reset, you know? Because the thing about our Western culture is that we have a very different lifestyle from other nations or countries around the world, right? What I noticed from the European culture is that they have shorter work weeks, but on top of having shorter work weeks, they also value personal and family life. And so how that spills over into their work life and their personal life is that the priority is having a balance. The priority is not work, right? There is a focus on work, and people have businesses and people are active throughout the day. It's not a lazy beach town or anything like that where I was in Spain, but people are not hustling and bustling the way that we do. Majority of the businesses in Spain and in Paris, I was in Paris for a week as well, were closed because apparently August is the time of vacation where businesses will close and leave for vacation for about a month. And my friend was telling me this. My friend that now lives in Paris was telling me this, that August is that time of vacation where people go to their beach homes, people go to their cottages, their summer homes. And I was like, wow, isn't that amazing that the Europeans have prioritized their balance, where they closed their business and did not think about, like, we would never do that in America. We would never close our business for a month. We would never step away from, whatever it is that we're working on for a month, right? Because we have this sort of hustle culture that says work, now, or else. And I think that I was really internalizing that and really living in that work hustle culture, and I noticed the effects that it would have on my mental health. I was constantly in a state of anxiety to the point where I could not be present. And I read a quote that said, get out of your mind and get into your body. And that just resonated with me throughout this entire digital detox, throughout this entire European trip. Get out of your mind and get into your body, right? When you're out of the house for more than 12 hours a day, there's not so much time to be in your head. There's not so much time to overthink, right? When I was in Paris, we decided to, we took the metro to most places, but sometimes we were just like, let's just walk. We want to go to the other side of town, but let's just walk. The architecture, the city is so insanely beautiful. Let's just walk. And so I was in my body. I was physically moving. Even when I was tired and I was like, oh my God, I just want to go home and sit on my phone and watch videos or watch a movie or whatever. I just want to relax, right? I didn't really have the option to do that because I was like, well, I'm in another city. Let me see all that I can see. And I think me kind of forcing myself to sightsee or just walk around the town is really what gave me this cleanse, right? Because I was physically active. How much of our lifestyle is sedentary, right? And for me personally, I notice myself sitting around and not doing things sometimes, right? And what is the effect of a sedentary lifestyle on our mental health? If we're not moving our body, our mind is also not moving, right? Our mind and body are connected. And so a way to get your mind moving, especially for overthinkers, if you're someone that can get stuck on thoughts and can ruminate and overthink things, it's time to get more into your body so that you can get out of your head, right? We can tell ourselves, okay, stop thinking about it. Okay, enough, right? But it's so much harder to control our mind simply by using our mind to control our minds, by telling ourselves to stop thinking about it or telling ourselves positive affirmations. Yes, those things work, but another way and another route of getting out of our mind is by using our physical body and getting into movement, because what the body does, the mind also does. It follows, right? And so I noticed that in Spain and Paris that I was constantly moving. My body was constantly active, and so my mind was also moving. There was a quicker turnover to my thoughts. I wasn't sitting and ruminating over things that I would have otherwise ruminated over. And so it kept me present in the moment and it kept me living, right? So that is one of the major things that I have noticed throughout this detox is there is so much noise that we have in our mind sometimes that we don't even notice is chipping and eating away at our spirit, Mental clarity, reduced stress and anxiety, and even an improvement and a spark in creativity. These are things that I have been searching for throughout my digital detox and what I was able to find. Reduce stress and anxiety. I think a lot of times our anxiety and our fear is based off of the future. I know for me, when I first decided to take a pivot from nursing, as you guys know, I'm a registered nurse. I went to university for 4 years, got certified to be a registered practicing nurse in Canada. And after working as a nurse for about a year, I decided that I literally hated it and that staying in this career would not yield the type of life that I wanted to live. And the type of life that I wanted to live was one that was purposeful, with one that had meaning and value and was sustainable for myself, my own mental health. And so I decided that nursing wasn't going to do that for me, and I took a pivot. And after that pivot, I'll be honest with you, I dealt with the most crippling anxiety that I have ever felt in my life. And it wasn't for a week or two, it was for months, and even spilled over into a year of just crippling anxiety, where I felt like I had to because I wasn't working as a nurse, I felt like I had to overcompensate in other areas. And so if I took a moment to sit and relax, I would have this guilt of what are you doing? You're not working as a nurse. You don't even know where your career is going. You're sitting and relaxing? Absolutely not. And so I would have this fear and anxiety about my future that would spill over into my present moment, where I couldn't even live in ease, right? And The thing that this detox taught me and showed me about stress and anxiety is that we are constantly fearing the future. We are constantly worrying about something that hasn't even happened. Our future is not even, it hasn't even been written out yet. We don't even know how it's going to play out, right? And we're stressing and we're worried off of the ideas that we created in our mind. How insane is that? You know, we all do it, but if we really sit down and think about it, how insane is that? You know? And it makes me think of this one, I I'll be honest with you. I've had a lot of life experiences that have taught me really big and prominent life lessons, and one that I can think of right now is with my friend JV. So I'm gonna quickly tell you guys this story because it's something that really changed my life and my perspective on life and my perspective on death. So I'm gonna make it make sense. How does death have anything to do with stress and anxiety? But hear me out. So I think this was about in 2018 where I was on Instagram, and when you just meet, like, Instagram is a social network, right? And so you can meet a lot of amazing people on Instagram. And so I met this guy named Jordan, JV, and we just instantly vibed, like off the top vibed. He was like a creative, he made music, he did poetry, all that, like everything that I'm just into, right? And so we connected over that, and I remember when we connected, he had this like urgency to meet up, right? Like we had only been talking for like a day, and it wasn't even like we were talking, it was just like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I do this. Oh, I think that's cool. Oh, that's sick. Da 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 da. Just vibing off of the things that, like, our creative interests. And then all of a sudden he goes, hey, I would love to show you my poetry in person. Like, it's different if you show it online. I want to read it to you. I want it like to be a personal experience. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I would love that. I love poetry. And then all of a sudden he was like, how about tomorrow? Are you free tomorrow? And I was like, I don't even know this guy. Am I gonna meet up with someone off of Instagram, like, that I just met? That's Abby, that's insane. But anyways, the day that he asked me, I genuinely had plans, and I was like, no, can't do that day. And me thinking like, okay, he's just going to reschedule for next week or another time. And he goes, okay, how about Saturday? And I was like, oh my goodness, this guy is so, like, he's so eager. He's a little bit pushy. What's going on? And I was like, okay, sure. Like, if he's really adamant about meeting up, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it Saturday night. And so we made plans and we met up, and throughout the entire night we had a great time, but he was not feeling well. Like, he was visibly not well, coughing, sneezing, just losing his breath. We're walking throughout this like food festival, and he is just having a rough time. And I was like, are you okay, sir? And he was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm just not feeling well, da 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 da. And he was like, honestly, like, this is not how I wanted to show you my poetry. I'll show you my music. And so I'm listening to his music, and it's amazing and beautiful. And maybe I'll put it here, because his stuff is actually fire, guys. Like, it's so good. But anyways, so the night continues, and he is just like progressively getting worse and worse and worse. I'm like, dude, honestly, we can reschedule. Like, you don't have to be out here sick and like feeling icky and gross. Like, it's fine. Go home, be in your space, get better. We'll meet up another day and redo this day. You know what I mean? And he was like, are you sure? Like, I don't want to leave, but are you sure? I'm really not feeling well. Are you sure? And I was like, no, just go home. We'll meet up another day. Like, there's no rush. There's no rush. That's what I was thinking. There's no rush. There's no need to just like stretch the night out if you're not feeling well. And long story short, this is a super long story, but long story short, he ended up passing away the next day. And it was something that literally shook my entire world, because I was like, but why? But we had just met, but we had just made plans. But we were supposed to meet up next week, but I was supposed to listen to your poetry, but we were supposed to continue this friendship or relationship, whatever it would have been. Why? He had planned to release an album and have a listening party. He made all these plans, but now you're not here. The next day you're not here. But why? right? And it really just brought me back to reality. And I was like, we can make all these plans. In this life, we can make 1,000,000,001 plans. You know, he had told me that he had been making music for years. This was the first time he was releasing an album. He set up a listening party. He invited people. He had catering, everything. The venue was booked, everything. It was going to be an amazing time. But the next day he passed away, right? And so this just shows that in life, like, it's so important to be present and to live each day. And I noticed that the European lifestyle is more so focused on that, right? They'll go to a cafe, a bar, or whatever, and just have a glass of wine and have company and talk and chat and do that the entire evening, because we're living. We're in the moment. We're not thinking about, what could I do right now to set up my career in 5 years? What could I do right now to make sure I'm married and I have kids and all these things? We try and set up our life. We try and have so much control over our life that we lose sense of the present moment, that we're not actually even living. And, you know, life is not all about enjoyment, having fun, living, and just, you know, doing what feels good. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's about being in the moment and living in a sense of like, okay, the future is going to come and I'm doing all that I gotta do, but I'm not straining and I'm not breaking my back over it, right? It's having that faith in God. This is where the biblical aspect comes in. And it's like, I can't control my future. There's things that I can do to set myself up, right? There's little things that I can do. But at the end of the day, how things play out, I don't have control over it. And I would even say that when you try and have control, when you try and manipulate your future, that's when the mental health issues come in. That's when the stress and anxiety takes over, right? And so it's like, okay, do you want to have control over your future, over your life, and orchestrate it and you know, do everything and manage everything so that your future comes out the exact way that you want it? Do you want to live that way and also live with the stress and anxiety that comes with it? Or do you want to do your best every day? Put your best foot forward, right? We're not being lazy, okay? We're not being lazy. We're using everything we have without overstraining ourselves into stress, overstraining ourselves into depression where we're comparing ourselves constantly. We're anxious about the things that we didn't do that we could have done better, right? We're not doing that. But we're having faith and we're saying, okay, this is what I have in my life right now. I'm a student. I'm making a pivot in my life. These are my sticks and my stones. How can I use them and put it together to start building the foundation, to start building, right? The skeleton of this home, the skeleton of this future that I want to see, right? When you're building a home, when you're building, when construction workers are building a home, whatever it is, right? They do it brick by brick by brick. They're not thinking, as they lay this one brick, they're not thinking, oh, this brick has to connect with this, and it's going to be about how everything has to connect. No. They're understanding the skills and the technique that they have learned to lay this one brick. Lay this one brick perfectly. Lay this one brick to the best of your ability, right? And then take the next brick and do the same thing with that. Focus on this one brick. Don't focus about the next corner, right? How it's all going to come together. No. Have faith, right? You do your job. You take your sticks and your stones and you put it together. And then you let God do the rest, you know? You let God connect all the dots and put the roof and whatever. You let God have the finishing touch. The little fairy dust that, boop, there you go, right? Because when we try and orchestrate everything, we're human beings. You know, a lot of people think that human beings aren't really human. You know, we think that a lot of people think that we are so much that we're capable of so much more, that we can survive and cope with, you know, the pressure of hustle culture. And it's like, we're only human. You're not meant to deal with that amount of stress. You're not meant to deal with that amount of pressure on your life. You will crumble because you are human, and it's okay to be human, right? Live your human life. The best way to live is, you know, to, in my opinion, have faith. Because without it, you're going to crumble in stress. Without it, you're going to crumble anxiety. And so that is what, you know, this experience with my friend JV, that, you know, he was 26 years old. at the time. This was, I think, in 2018. It was a couple of years ago. He was 26 years old, and his life was gone. All the plans he made, all the plans we made within that night, right? Gone, right? Because at the end of the day, who has authority over your life, right? It's God. It's God that can, your life is predestined in a sense, and we have purpose, but our purpose sometimes isn't what we think it is, but what God wants to do with our life. And so it's using what we have, but also giving it to God and having trust. So yeah, in this life, don't strain yourself too much. Take it easy. Know that you can do your best, and then you got to let God do the rest. I would suggest that you take on the challenge to go on a digital detox. This is something that I'm going to try and implement in my life. Like, I don't want to be on my phone throughout the day. I don't want to be on my phone constantly checking Instagram, constantly checking notifications, constantly checking how my content did, how many views I got, who's DMing me, what messages I'm getting, my email. Like, I don't want to constantly do that. I don't want to be stuck in my digital world and lose sight of my reality, right? Because it has a negative effect on my mental health, because it has all these effects that diminish my mind. I want to be present, and so I'm going to intentionally put the effort to implement an intentional digital detox into my daily lifestyle. And so what that includes is less screen time, more social interactions. And if I don't have the opportunity to have social interactions, I need to go outside and I need to be active with my body, because my body and my mind are connected, and I refuse to live a life stuck in the chaos of my mind. I refuse to live a life stuck in the sorrows of what my mind can create. I am going to live presently. I am going to live purposefully, and I suggest that you do the same. And so go on a digital detox and tell me how it went. Tell me how it's going, and we'll reconnect in another video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I know that I have been kind of distant, but I was on a digital detox, and so I have an excuse. Anyways, live your best life. Be happy, be joyous. Remember to love God and to put Him first. And I will see you guys in another video. Goodbye for now. I love you.